What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We have Mike Bruesewitz returning back on the show. Mike, let's get an update from you. I know you reached native status in Puerto Rico, and that was a goal for you. I'll have you explain what that is. But yeah, you had a major injury in 2023. You fractured your tibia, ruptured your deltoid ligaments, wrote that one down. But yeah, let's just get an update from you. How's the recovery? Talk about getting native status, and are you planning to continue your professional career?
So I know you do you work in the medical field as well? That was impressive. Remembering all that. I was remembering all those injuries. The deltoid ligament, you got it down correctly. No, everything is good over here. So yeah, after I think the last time we spoke a while ago, I was coming back from a couple of different surgeries. So I fractured my ankle playing in the playoffs down in Mexico in 2022. Had surgery down there and then had another surgery. Not because the first surgeon did anything wrong. It was just a very big injury. A lot of things went wrong down there. And then, it took me about 18 months to get back onto the court. So a couple surgeries, a lot of rehab, a lot of time in the gym, and made my way back. Took another job down in my final two jobs outside of the U.S. or the last couple jobs I took outside of Puerto Rico were in Mexico. And then after my second job in Mexico coming back, I didn't want to really leave. I knew I had the opportunity to earn native status, like you said, down here in Puerto Rico, which basically means I count as a local player. Every team or every league in the world has a designated amount of imports that you can have. So anybody who doesn't come from the place you're playing. If you're in Greece, you get a certain number of Greeks that you have to have on the team. Here in Puerto Rico, there are 2 import spots, although they changed it this year. There's 3, so anybody from any other place other than Puerto Rico. But they have a rule down here that if you live down here long enough, you can actually play as a native. And moved down here about 4.5 years ago. Didn't know this rule existed when I first moved down here. And then when I played as an import, they told me, they were like, "Yo, you can do this." It's like, cool. So I did it, and got some help from some people down here, and finally made it into the league, and had a statistically okay season. Was on one of the worst. We were on the last place team. Probably had the worst basketball luck I think I've ever had in my entire life, and in my entire career. But got paid on time. Got to play on the island. Family came and see me play professionally for the first time here down in PR. So everything was beautiful. And now I'm doing some 3-on-3. Working my way into the professional 3-on-3 circuit. Just another opportunity to play some basketball, travel around a little bit, with less commitment than months at a time. It's usually a weekend, and you might get to go to place to place. And there's a few really good players down here, and the culture of 3-on-3 in Puerto Rico is actually growing. So thought it'd be a really fun opportunity, and just enjoying life. I'm planning on not taking any more jobs outside of Puerto Rico. I'm staying down here for as long as I possibly can.
Let's go. And appreciate the update, and just a little roadmap for this episode is, for me, we will talk Badgers. I definitely know that the people who are going to watch this will appreciate some Badger talk about this year's team, maybe some memories in the past. Honestly, I'm more interested in Mike has traveled to many countries, played in over 15 countries. I'm interested in stories and learning stuff. And I also want, in my episodes moving forward, to give the viewers something of value, because, talking about sports, it's great, but I just want there to be something that the viewer can take away, something practical that they can apply to their life, some value. And something that I am really amused with, Mike, is longevity. That's something I'm kind of almost obsessed with. I'm obsessed with how one guy when they're 30 years old is over the hill, and then there's a guy who's 35 who's as good as ever. I am super intrigued with the relationships in sport and father time. And you had a major injury in your early 30s, and now you recently turned 35. Just talk about your battle with father time. How are you trying to just fight father time, and any advice or wisdom you have there?
The undefeated #1 heavyweight champion of the world,
yes,
father
sir.
time. Winning always. A couple things that I really took to heart when I first started being a professional a little bit more than I even was in college. Just because in college and university, I was at Wisconsin high major program. There's a bunch of money around, which means you get really good medical care. So, we had our head trainer, Henry Perez-Guerra, and a bunch of physical therapy students. So, I could go and get a massage when I need to. I had access to ultrasounds. I had access to high-level recovery equipment when I was in college. And I really got into the longevity game after I cut my leg my senior year. I got into it a little bit more of like, oh man, like I had a relatively major injury that sidelined me for a couple of months, but I was still able to finish out the season my senior year. But oh no, we have a
Let's
little
go
dog here.
Hey, I'm glad it's not a cat.
No, just a little dog who doesn't like rain. But anyway, so the thing with that is, you have all these tools, and you have all this access to really good recovery equipment. And then very quickly, unless you're going to a high-level European team, which, oftentimes guys coming out of school, they're not going to do that. Unless you're an all Big Ten team or, All-American, you'll get to higher level leagues. But you'll quickly understand the power of the NCAA and the amount of money that TV contracts generate. Just in the amount of recovery and medical facilities you have access to. And so, I was very fortunate to have a lot of people kind of go through professional basketball school when I was growing up in Minnesota. One of my favorite mentors, a guy named Chris Carr, had a gym there, and we used to play with a lot of older professionals, the guys that were in the league in Europe. And they always said, man, you got to learn how to take care of your body by yourself. And so that was one thing that happened with me is I got really into the longevity piece, and yoga, Pilates, meditation, mindfulness, nutrition for the most part. Those are the biggest things. And honestly, I can say yoga and Pilates have been probably the two biggest game changers for me. I started doing a lot of yoga in college at University of Wisconsin. Keaton Ankerville really was the one who got me into it. And then I got kind of obsessed with it. And then after I graduated from Wisconsin, I met a woman named Nancy Anderson, who is a very well-known Pilates instructor and kind of fitness instructor in the Minneapolis area. And she opened my eyes to a whole bunch of stuff. So Pilates and yoga were the longevity factors for me because, I wake up every morning, I stretch, I have my little physical therapy routine with my TheraBands. And, we were talking about before the interview is consistency. You got to do it every day. And that sucks. You got to do the stuff you don't want to do every day. And it will pay dividends for as many years as you want to play. Now, I've had a couple of major injuries. The thing that was really interesting for me is I got to work with some really, really great physical therapists in Cleveland, Ohio. And, I went in and I was like, hey, this is usually what my morning routine is. This is what this looks like. This is how I plan on, approaching this rehab, because I knew I had a pretty long one on the way back. And, the physical therapist is like, cool, if you do all that, you should be able to return to normal and play at a high level again if you want to. And I've done just that. So it's a lot of TheraBands, a lot of yoga, a lot of breathing, and some really good coffee in the morning.
Let's go. So how recovering from a major injury like that, and you can do just about everything right, but that can throw a wrench into your plans. Just talk about, how do you think Mike Bruesewitz in 2025 matches up with Mike Bruesewitz before the injury in 2023?
Not the same.
Yeah.
I'm also a couple years older, and it's interesting as you get a little bit older, and as as I've played a lot of games, I've played a lot of basketball. My drive to attack the basket and dunk on people, I no longer have that. I'm good. I got plenty of film. I got plenty of film. So now it's 2 points. It's a lot more jump shots. As I'm getting a little bit older too, I'm kind of understanding like the drive I had when I was about 30, 31, 32. Man, you still have that tiger blood in you, and physically the ability to just do it every day at a high level, like the recovery I would be able to have after a very heavy workout, and then just being able to recover really quickly to go and do another one the next day, and being able to stack days like that, not quite the same anymore. And I'm much more mindful about, as I have a lot of mileage on my body. You can feel it if you don't go and do like even small stuff. Like I took about I think I took 7 weeks off this year after my season. Oh, I loved it. I had a great time. I have not done that in so long because I knew I wasn't really going to need to work go and find another job anytime soon. So I was like, all right, I'll let my ankles rest. I'll let my knees recover. And it's funny, as you get older, you find a lot more fluid in places. So randomly you got a bunch of inflammation somewhere that you didn't think you had. So, or you didn't know you existed every day. So for me, I got my recovery stuff. I bought some, boots, compression boots. I got compression boots. I do red light therapy, roll out. I got my little bag of bands. I got my therapy kits that I have, kind of done religiously for the last almost 14, 15 years that have helped me recover from my surgery to be at least serviceable. Defensively, I'm pretty good still. I can still move laterally. Just the vertical jump is leaving me, which is sad, but it's okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm not looking forward to that day. I'm not looking forward to that. It's just, but it happens to everybody, and hopefully, yeah, you're doing everything right. You're doing everything right, and Mike and I talked before the show. We're going to make this a regular occasion where we talk perhaps on a weekly basis and go from there. So stay tuned. But we'll talk a little Greg Gard, a little Wisconsin basketball. I don't think we didn't have a conversation this past season. Mike, what do you think about the evolution in Greg Gard? Even we saw some changes in 23, 24, but this was a new Greg Gard with Kirk Penny on board. What do you make of it? All the, they shoot more threes, they're faster, they have better spacing, better flow. Let's talk about it.
The era of pace and space, and also just, that's definitely influenced Coach Gard, as well as having a New Zealander on staff who liked to shoot a lot of threes when he was in the prime of his career as well at Wisconsin, but he also played a ton of years professionally and was had a very good offensive game. You can see that he lets a lot more things flow, and Coach Gard lets he allows some more mistakes. He the leash is a little bit looser for a lot of guys, and especially on certain shot selections. He's letting guys kind of ride out hot hands and take pull-up threes and stuff like that. Whereas, when I was going through school, it's a lot more system-based. Also, just the amount of pick and rolls they've played is really high level. I enjoyed some of the sets that they were running, especially for Tanjay and Blackwell. Those two dudes were studs. And they had some stuff figured out this year that, I think is going to be beneficial for them to come, not only to get recruits, because guys are really going to want to come and play in that style now. And it's a style that's much more modern and much closer to what the NBA looks like, which also I think is beneficial for the program in terms of bringing in high-level professional guys that have the opportunity to be high-level professionals. And so for me, it's cool to see. Definitely, and I'm glad that Coach Gard is having the success with that, because I know that the football program is struggling a little bit with this hybrid stuff, but it's great to see that the basketball program is being able to, evolve with what's happening. And I like their team this year. They did a lot of great things. They got really good players, and it's cool to see how Coach Gard has adjusted his philosophies and adjusted to this new age of college basketball. It's much closer to not even much closer. It is professional basketball, because you're paying guys. You're going out and building teams now.
It's the worst.
So, yes and no. It'll be really interesting now because you don't get to know guys as much, but
that's the worst. I like getting to know, Mike Bruesewitz over 4 years. That's the part that just sucks, it's so transactional. But anyways, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. And it's funny because for me, I look at it I understand exactly where you are coming from in terms of there's a weirdness of it, of man, it used to be this way, and now I'm looking at it from purely like, this is what my life has been like for like last 15 years. You look at teams transactionally. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's really interesting. They finally made that adjustment to college basketball. And, contractually it was scholarships, but now it's like, oh man, my power forward that I really liked, I can go get another one who has a little different skill set and works with my better point guard. Okay, that's really interesting. So it's interesting to see how teams are being put together, and it really puts it really puts the ability of the coach on display. Because, before it was, man, you had guys in your program, you wanted them to play a certain way. You had years to build up chemistry, and you had years to make runs with certain guys, right? And now it's much more of all right, you have this season with this group, and you don't know what's going to happen. 2 years ago when Chucky Hepburn left, it was like, okay, Chucky went and got paid more, and you had to figure out this new point guard situation. Thankfully, they had Jonathan Blackwell on the backside, who took a huge leap this year, and I'm really interested to see what he looks like coming in this season. I think he's going to have a big year. But it's interesting to see because Coach Gard has adjusted his play style to be more open, which I think will actually allow him to recruit differently, which it has. And I think he's just done a great job of adjusting to a really, really ever-changing landscape in college basketball.
Yeah, and you're giving Greg Gard, compliments and praise, but I like that, when I talked to you about 2 years ago after the 22-23 season, where it was rough, you weren't afraid to criticize Greg Gard and the program. So you keep it real. So that's not just a former player giving Gard compliments just to give him compliments. Like, you actually mean that. And Mike's got a really, really impressive basketball mind. If you want to check out our interview from a few years ago, yeah, I could see you I don't know if you want to, but you could definitely be a coach with your wisdom. But, my question before I ask you my next question is, moving forward as we do more episodes together, how open of a book are you? I'm just pretty curious. You'll be pretty open? Okay. That's good to know.
I'm on the back half of my career. I don't got much going on now. Like, I don't have to, I can have a good time.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. That's good to know. But
this is LaCroix, by the way. This is LaCroix.
Yeah, man. Well, that's good to know moving forward. I don't think I have anything too crazy today, but that's good to know moving forward. But yeah, let's just talk a little bit about next year's squad and expectations. At first I was like, this team will be good. I think it'll be top 25, but I think their ceiling's a little limited. And Gard's not really a guy to pump up his team when it's just unnecessarily. And he seems very excited about Blackwell and Noah Reynolds, the 6-year senior, 4 years at Florida Atlantic, a year at San Diego State. He said it's the fastest player he's ever coached as a head coach. I don't know about all time, but he said he's really or not Noah Reynolds. I'm thinking the guy from Green Bay. Shoot, I'm gonna have to restart this. Who's the transfer guard? Nick Boyd. All right, let's restart
Nick Boyd,
this.
okay.
Let's restart this.
You're good.
Not Reynolds. See, it's so hard. It's so hard to keep track. That's why I don't like this.
It's a little bit challenging, I know.
All right, so let's talk about this upcoming year's squad. We got Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, Nolan Winter, kind of going to be the big three. And at first, I thought this team's upside might be a little limited, but the more I hear Gard talk about this team, he's gushing over this squad and talking about Boyd and Blackwell being alphas. And I thought it would be just limited because Blackwell's already a grown man. But I really think that Reynolds is going to be better than people realize. That Gard said it's the fastest player he's coached. But yeah, I think that trio is interesting. They have some other pieces they bring in. But yeah, do you have any initial thoughts on this upcoming year?
So, looking at their roster right now, there's a few guys that I haven't really seen too much of in terms of the transfers coming in. But, one thing that I do know is Nolan Winter, I think, is going to take another big jump. He is super skilled, and I like the growth he made last year. And that double big lineup they showed out with a lot with him and Steven Crowl caused a lot of teams a lot of problems. Now, I'm sure, Nolan's probably put on a little bit more weight this summer. That's usually the thing with bigger guys, and it's funny that the duo reminds me a little bit of when I was a sophomore, when we had
Lure and
Jordan Taylor and John Lure. That combo of a really good point guard and a really good power forward center combination. So if you have those two things, because you have a playmaker and a shot maker at the point guard position, which is really, really key, especially in today's game. And then I think him and Nolan working together, Nolan can do a pick and pop. He can also roll. He does a good job of rolling at times and catching and finishing. And I think it's with those two, they're going to have a little bit of a evolution in their game this year. And so I think they have their two, and they're at different positions, right? They're not just completely stacked. And like you said, the new guy, the new transfer coming in, Nick Boyd. I haven't seen too much of him, but him and Blackwell, because one thing is Blackwell was really tough in transition last year. He got a lot of stuff kind of transition to semi-transition, and if they brought in another guy who can do a lot of the things that Blackwell did, or play off of him, it's going to be really, really interesting. I'm curious to see what their inside game looks like. I know they got a couple of international bigs. I think they brought a kid in from Lithuania, and I think they brought a kid in from Australia.
Had the Australia guy, Austin Rapp, on for an interview. Good kid.
Yeah.
Good kid. I think he's
so we'll see. For sure. We'll see, because I've played in Lithuania. They do a great job of skill development there. They play a very specific brand of basketball. I always played really well when I was in Lithuania. It was very structured. It's very hey, these are the actions we're going to get to, and you need to be able to do these well. And I think he, hopefully he can. I would butcher his last name. Some of those Lithuanian names are really tough. I'm going to let you know that right now. So, hopefully that, and same thing with the Australian kid, hopefully they can kind of figure out what they're doing, and, having that interesting mix of European bigs will be interesting, as well as they got Janicki coming back. So I think that should be something that should be an advantage for them. And they also have a kid from Minnesota, actually, from Park Center, Braden Carrington. He should be a nice little athletic wing for them. He's got bigger size, can defend. He's I remember him at Minnesota. I remember him coming up through, I think it was Park Center. Good athlete, knows what he's doing, got a big body, so he should be able to help them on the wing as well. So I'm interested to see what this team does this year. Obviously, it rotates and changes every year, just with the transfer portal being what it is. But I think the last 3 years, Coach Gard's done a great job of getting what he needs out of the transfer portal. That's been my biggest compliment. That's the compliment I can give him most, is every year he's came and found somebody he needs, and somebody to be an impact player. It was AJ Storr the first year really out of it, and then goes and finds John Tanjay. Well, okay, sounds good. Let's hope he found another one in this Boyd. So, he's got a good track record, and I think if that happens, it should be a good squad.
Yeah, and now that I know that we're going to be doing these more often, I'm going to save a few of the questions I have for next time. But one more question I'm going to ask is, 2 years ago, we were talking about culture at Wisconsin and talking about the TBT and how, there were some talks about Wisconsin having a TBT team. It didn't happen. How much does culture even matter now? 2 years ago, I know NIL and the portal were still a thing, but Wisconsin had their whole roster just about returning in 2023, 2024, which is insane to think about. It feels like an eternity ago, because that won't happen again. That's just not normal. And this last year was kind of an outlier, I would say, where you had Klesmit for 3 years, Wisconsin kid, McGee for 3 years, Wisconsin kid, Crowell for 5 years, Gilmore for 5 years. And then Tanjay was a super likable, 1 year player. He was a very likable, endearing guy, but there's a lot of continuity. Even some bench guys were there for 4 years. Who didn't really play, like Hodges and Ilver, and I think I'm missing somebody. But how much does culture even matter now?
So I think there is. I'm curious to see what it really looks like, because the idea of culture kind of changes too. And you can have, when you have a much more professional style of game now and roster building, because that's really what's the college game is now turned into roster building. It's not like, I recruit this kid and you tried to do it through roster building, through recruiting, through high school kids, and now it's like, I know this kid does this and this skill set, he has this skill set and he did it at this level. Can he translate it to this next level, right? This kid did it at a mid-major. Can he come up to the high majors and do it? This kid did it over at this high major school, but didn't have the pedigree for that. So with that being said, I think culture can be a differentiator in terms of, the business aspect of things once you get done with basketball, or if you want to kind of continue through basketball. So, one thing for Wisconsin is there are some guys that go back, but they're mostly from Wisconsin, from time to time. And it's just, and if you look at other things, if you look at other people doing podcasts or other professional sports, a lot of guys always talk about going back to North Carolina, or they go back to Duke, and they go back to certain schools that they're like, oh yeah, I'm going back there because I feel welcomed. I want to be there. And those are like, Kentucky, those are like the blue bloods, and they have that internal built-in culture. So it's a little bit different. But I also know that there's some really high level schools that don't do that. Like I've never spoken to guys who are really into going back to the University of Minnesota so much, or Nebraska or Iowa and stuff like that. So I think as it's become more transactional, it can be a differentiator for those continued blue bloods, but it also can be a little bit kind of like, all right, whatever, I came here, I got what I needed. Thank you. Now I'm on my way.
Yeah, and I think the last question I'll ask you, I wanted to talk a little bit about your overseas life, but I think I'm just going to save that for later. I think we can mix up some things. So I think I'll just finish this off and reminisce. What was Greg Gard like when you were in college?
So Coach Gard actually recruited me.
Okay.
So he was the guy who recruited me. Him and Howard Moore, came up to Minnesota like twice, but Greg Gard was really the guy who really recruited me. And for me, it's funny, like everybody, like Coach Gard definitely told it to you pretty straight. He always had, if he came to games, he would always talk to me after games. And then, he would always tell me I need to pump fake more. It's like, you need to pump fake more.
You hit like 5 against Ohio State in one of your biggest shots of your career.
Yeah, no, it was more underneath the rim and stuff like that, and he was correct on some stuff. It wasn't, but he always, even though he was recruiting me, he still coached me while he was recruiting me. So I was like, okay, cool. That sounds good. And it's funny because some people talk about, I had this great relationship with recruiters and this coach made me feel the most comfortable. And like, when I was getting recruited, I was like, I think I made one thing I think I put too much onus on was wanting to win. But like, and I was like, man, like these dudes just win like all the time. And I just want to win. And in a hindsight, it was great. We won a lot of games. But if I would be able to talk to myself as an 18-year-old kid, I'd be like, yes, you can go find a place to win, but you also need to remember what your ultimate goal is, right? My ultimate goal was to go make money doing this game. So, had I chose a maybe smaller school where I was a bigger fish. Yep. If I would have chose a smaller school where I was maybe bigger a fish, maybe could have helped my professional career. But I also don't know that. Like I also played on the biggest stage. So I got those really cool experiences and we won. Like that was like the ultimate selling point for me going to Wisconsin was like, it's relatively close to home. Madison's an amazing city. The university is good. And we're going to win. Like we are going to win. I knew when I went there, I was like, we're going to win. Like we got a squad. We're good. So for me, that was one of the more important things for me. But I know going through it now, I look back and be like, okay, you won a lot of games. Could you have done something different? But I will not trade that for anything. And like Coach Gard as a person, he's cool. Like he's a pretty, it's a little interesting. You have a different relationship with your assistant coach than you do your head coach because Coach Ryan was still there. So, he was clearly the lead assistant. he always got way too excited for the Michigan State scout. Every time we played Michigan State, he was, Coach Gard's got the scout. All right, sounds great. Like I guess we got to beat Michigan State. So, which we never did. We never beat Michigan State in Michigan State all 4 years. It's the only place I never won. But yeah, other than that, I mean, he's a relatively calm guy. Like, he get fiery. He's a good coach in terms of he knows his X's and O's. He works super hard. I don't have a relationship with him since I left college. But I do know that, everybody who's been around the program says he's doing the things that were successful with Coach Ryan. He kind of stole the things that he really liked from Coach Ryan and created his own path and his own style of coaching with some of off the basis and the principles of what Coach Ryan had taught him. And as you can see, it's been extremely successful. Like, there's no doubt he's in the tournament all the time. I still think Wisconsin goes to the tournament more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Haven't won that big one yet, but man, they've been in the tournament a lot.
Yeah, this upcoming roster, it could be the year, and I think people are getting a little antsy. But yeah, he had a wonderful year last year. They were solid the year before, but I think this roster could be the roster to do it. But yeah, as we were doing this interview, my brain, the gears in my brain were kind of turning, and I was thinking about different angles moving forward and things we could talk about and stuff like that. So I'm going to save some stuff for the future. Stay tuned moving forward. Mike, thank you very much for coming back on the show, and looking forward to staying connected and talking more in the future.
All right, sounds good, man. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your night.